Hey guys, my name is Burton with Propstream.com, and Brian had asked us a huge favor. He said, "Hey Burton, you know what? I use your platform, but I'm trying to get my students, the people I'm mentoring, an idea of what your platform is capable of. Now, it has a lot of features, so can you do me the favor and show people what you're all about?" So I decided to take up on that challenge, and here we are today. So again, what we do is we've been collecting data on a nation level for the last 15 years. We actually have been around since 2005. Now, our product is investor built for investors. So what you're able to do is actually search anywhere in the United States for either motivated sellers, property details, or even to find motivated buyers. So the first thing you want to do is, again, nationwide. You can search anywhere. So let's just kind of dive into a different market like Miami, Florida. And when you search an area, what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in into that market for you. And we're going to show you all the records here on the right-hand side. So there's a million records that you can go through manually. We're also going to help you by separating those records into their own given categories. So here at the top, you have what we call our canned searches. So here in Miami, Florida, you have access to 33,000 MLS records. These are all active, pending, failed, contingent, sold. So whether you're trying to use the MLS records to run comps, maybe find failed listings or below market price listings, you name it, this is your category. Pre-foreclosures are all the properties that have either a notice of default, les pendants, a notice of trustee sale. So if you're looking for very high motivated sellers, this would definitely be your category here. To make your life easier, some pre-foreclosures will have an auction date assigned to them. To make your life easier, what we've done is separated them for you in their own given category. So instead of going through 1,800 records to find the ones with auctions, I just click on auctions, and here are my 742 properties that are in pre-foreclosure with an assigned auction date to it. Foreclosures are all your REO or bank-owned properties. So this is typically what happens after the auction. So if the auction fails and obviously the homeowner loses possession of the property, it is now owned by the lender or the bank, or what we call REO. And this would be that category. So for those of you guys that like dealing with the banks or dealing with foreclosure properties, this would definitely be your category here. Cash buyers, what we're doing here is we're going through all the records, in this case Miami, and showing you every property that was bought in cash at the time of the sale. Now, this is a great category for finding investors in your area, and I'll show you guys in a few how we can do that. Liens are all involuntary. So we're looking for, and what I mean by involuntary is we're referring to federal tax liens, state tax liens, HOA, utility, mechanical. So clearly, these are all involuntary. If an individual doesn't pay their liens, these lien holders do essentially have the authority down the road to foreclose on a property. So a lot of people do like this category because this is what they like to consider the early stages of financial distress. A vacant comes from the Postal Service. So these are properties that haven't been answering their mail for about 3 weeks or more. So you just got to be careful with this list because this will sometimes show you recently sold properties. Again, the definition from the United States Postal Service is a lot different than your definition of vacant. Their definition, again, is properties not answering their mail for 3 weeks or more. So what could happen here is a property is recently sold. The previous owner that owned that property forgot to forward their mail. So now that property, even though it just sold last month, is on the vacant list. And as you can see here, we have a few of those. As you can see, the sell date was just last month. So what you want to do, or a few months ago, what you want to do is go in there and maybe remove the last sell date ones or the recently sold ones by applying years of ownership or a last sell date. High equity is showing you properties that have 50% or more in equity or $100,000 or more in equity. So this is a great starting point for wholesalers, investors. The idea here, though, is that not anybody with high equity is going to sell you their house. So I do recommend that you guys add some layers to it. Now, how do you add layers? That is here in our filter. So in our filter, you'll have over 100 criteria to choose from to custom or refine or even create your own type of searches. So let's say I'm an investor in Miami and I'm looking for some pre-foreclosures, right? Because I'm looking for highly motivated homeowners. So the first question it's going to ask me is whether I'm looking for an occupied or a non-occupied property. Now, everyone has their own little niche. So as an example, I'll be using owner-occupied properties for this example. The next thing it's going to ask me to do is what lists would you like us to filter down? So we can choose the 8 that we had in the first page. And we have 3 others as well: free and clear, bankruptcies, and divorce. So you have 11 categories to filter down. So in this example, we're going to be going for pre-foreclosures. Once I choose the owner occupied, yes, no, or any, and the list type, I can now start working downwards and choose the type of property, such as the property type, the year built, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, lot square footage, and even home features. So once I apply my property characteristics, I can then go to the MLS status. And this is where layering of other categories begins. So what we're doing here is we're taking the pre-foreclosure category and we're now cross-referencing it with the MLS category. So we can do things like find me a pre-foreclosure that's active on the market for, let's say, 6 months, so 180 days or more. Perhaps we're looking for a pre-foreclosure that failed recently on the market. So talk about a high level of distress, right? Someone's in pre-foreclosure, they tried to sell their house, and the agent wasn't successful in doing so. So this would be the area where you can add a layer using our MLS records and build a high level of motivation, or stay away from MLS listings by going to on market down here and choosing no. So now we're just looking for pre-foreclosures that haven't listed their property through an agent at the moment. Once we're done with that category, we can then go to the foreclosure category. Now, being that we're searching pre-foreclosure, this would be the category where we can refine that search. But if I was searching, let's say, for bankruptcies, this would be a category where I can layer onto bankruptcy. So I can say bankruptcy with a pre-foreclosure. Okay, so let's go back to pre-foreclosure. And what we're going to do here is we're going to refine our search. So we're going to be able to choose document type. So I'm looking for notices of default and notices of trustee sales. I can also specify listing date. So show me all the listings at the beginning of October. I can apply a default amount, an auction date. So maybe we can go back a month more and get more results here. So there we go. We got 13. I can apply ownership info, specify how many years the owner has owned that property, whether it's corporate or individually owned or both, when it last sold, last sell price. If I'm looking for an absentee owner, I can specify that owner being out of state. I can also specify if the property is also flagged as vacant. Once I apply ownership info, I can then go to the next layer and apply the lien, bankruptcy, or divorce status. So here, again, this will allow you to drive more motivations by adding more layers. So you can say, not only do I want an off-market pre-foreclosure, but I want one with a lien as well, or has a divorce recording, or a bankruptcy recording. So you can get very granular, but be careful. If you get too specific, your results will be very minimal. So you don't want to obviously put all your eggs on 4 properties, all your eggs in, don't put all your eggs in one basket. In this case, don't put all your eggs in 4 properties. So just know that the more specific you get, the narrower your results will be, okay? Once you apply or filter down your lien section, you have value trend, which will allow you to apply your estimated value, a growth percentage, estimated rental income of that property. And as for growth percentage, you'll be able to go either 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Last and certainly not least is the equity and mortgage information, right? We need equity. In order for us to flip properties, we got to make sure it's lucrative. In order for it to be lucrative, it has to have equity. Depending on the strategy, that, of course. There are other strategies where you don't need equity, but you guys get the idea. Here, you'll be able to apply a dollar amount of equity or a percentage of equity, number of mortgages, total mortgage amount, mortgage interest rate, loan to value ratio, terms, maturity date, the loan that was used during the purchase of the property, whether it was once bought in cash or if it's currently free and clear, meaning there's no mortgage on it. So we can do things like find me a property with at least 50% in equity. And now when I hit apply, we went from 1,800 records to 4 properties that are off market, up for auction, individually or corporate owned with about 50% or more in equity. So this is how you want to approach our application. You're going to search a market. You're going to get our unfiltered results. You can then go into the filter and start applying your filter. And once you do that, it will narrow down to the results that you're specifically looking for. At this point, you guys can click on that property and start analyzing it. So just to kind of give you an idea of what details we provide, here you'll be able to see the characteristics of the property, our estimated value of the property, whether it's owned by corporate or individual, if it's occupied, any involuntary liens that you need to worry about. Again, we have our estimated value and last sale price of the property. We have the property character comparables. So our system will run comps for you, letting you know what we believe the property is valued using those comp records. And then the opportunity, how much equity the property has, monthly rent, mortgage balance, and lien amount. Now, all of this information is scattered down below here, beginning with property details. We know the individual owner's name, property characteristics, site information, last sale record, prior sell information. Now, how do we know it has zero balance? Well, this was a cash sale. So here we have a cash sale back in 2001 for $450,000 by the owner. So clearly there's been no mortgage. So it's free and clear. Unfortunately, tough times have hit them. So it looks like the property is up for auction next week. We have the amount of default here, unpaid balance, and we even have the trustee's information. So now that we know that there's no mortgage and the owner owes about $143,000, let's say 150 tops, we now want to obviously run comps. We want to know what our margin is, right? If we're going to end up buying that property, we want to know what we're going to be able to flip it for. And in order to do that, you're going to run comps. So in the comparables in nearby listings, we give you 3 sources to run comps. The first box is county records. So just like most of us that have access to public records, we can go into the section, see the default 1 year, half a mile radius results. So there are 27 of them. Anytime you see a green one, this is letting you know what cash buyers, these are cash buyers. And what I like about them is it's letting you know what buyers are usually buying properties in this market for. So this one's a good one, right? We have a property owner who has about $150,000 in debt, and we have buyers that are willing to pay about $162 for properties with the same characteristics. So these may be bad for comps because they will lower your value. So make sure you deselect any low value comps, or to better assist you, you can apply some filters. For example, show me all the bedrooms that are 2 minimum, 2 maximum. So it just shows me the 2 bedroom and 1 bedroom minimum, 1 bedroom max. Again, this is just showing me the 2-1 results, nothing else. And now I have my results. The goal here is to make sure you look at any erroneous results. So here's one that's obviously recorded as a $10, could be a transfer between family members. Here's a cash buyer that bought at a discounted price. We're going to deselect him. Here's another one at a discounted price, another one at a discounted price. So you clearly just want to go to these results and just make sure you're deselecting them. And once you do, you'll now see your new results, 9 selected, sale price 368. So we're right around the ballpark of where our system is calculating it. We can now hit view report. And here is the cool thing. What we do is we actually generate you a ARV range report. So what it does is it takes your results and shows the buyer what the low ARV is, the high ARV is in that market, and the average. So the finer you get when you're comparing apples to apples, the better the range will be. Pretty much it just lets your buyer know what their ROI could be once they buy your contract. And then we provide you the comps here as well. So that is the first way of running comps. The second way would be using neighboring records. This is very popular if you're like in a gated community or in a cul-de-sac, or maybe you're dealing with a property that's very old. So neighbors could be beneficial in those scenarios, as neighbors were usually built around the same time with the same characteristics. And if they sold today, then most likely your property would sell for around the same property value. And last, but certainly not least, and by far the best way to search, is using MLS records. So here you'll be able to act like an agent and use their listings to find your comps. So we can go back, let's say, the last 90 days. We can apply our characteristics to 1. We can even change the status. So by doing that, you can see our MLS results and see what these properties were listed for, and get an idea of why they were listed. You may at times need to increase your distance. And again, you can isolate the status by saying just sold or just active and so forth. So these were be the 3 ways that you guys can run comps. And that is all going to be located in the comparables in nearby listing section. The next category would be tax information, if you're interested in the property's tax info. Mortgage information, this will let you know if the owner has been pulling out any activities against the property. Transaction history, this will let you, this will confirm those mortgage information. And then last but not least, documents and reports. So here you'll be able to purchase the assessor's map, the document image scan. We've even included 3 tools that I believe will help you. The print button, this will actually just print the entire property report and slap it on a PDF file for you. So here you go, shows you property details, comparables, characteristics, owner's info, comps, and the statistics of that market. Now, when you add these 2 reports together, I'm thinking you're most likely going to build some credibility on your end. So letting your buyers know the property's information by giving them this report, and then also letting your buyers know, hey, I ran a comparables report for you, and here's the range for the ARV. So 2 powerful pieces of information that can definitely help you out. We have the analysis report, or the analysis wizard. This will allow you to calculate your ROI if you're trying to cash flow the property, or if you're trying to buy a property and then you're going to sell it in 6 months. By going through these fields, you'll be able to calculate what your return will be. We even have reports that you can print out. So if you're trying to convince a hard money lender or private money lender to fund you, these reports will definitely be very beneficial for you. Last tool we have is the rehab calculator. So the rehab calculator will actually redirect you to a company called Bluehammer. And what they do extremely well in is provide you local level costs on rehabs that are being performed in that market. So if you're doing like a complete bathroom, or you're updating the granite kitchen table and countertops, Bluehammer is going to be your best bet. So what they'll do is they'll take all the invoices in that market and they'll average the retail price for you. So you'll be able to see what the retail cost is for a rehab, which is good because this is letting your buyer know, okay, if the retail price is $15,000, well, my contractor usually gives me a discount, so that my rehab will probably be $8,000, $9,000. So it just lets your investor know that you've done your homework. But not only will it give you retail price on an average in that market, Bluehammer will also go through every invoice and show you the line items and the labor involved to perform that project. So you'll now be able to compare apples to apples when you're calling out contractors. And if they give you a ridiculously overpriced quote, you'll now be able to see their line items and see why they're much higher than the average in that market. So that is the last tool that will provide you when you're looking at a property detail. Remember, guys, every property in our system will have this layout. So this was just the first property. Now that I've realized that this property has good margins, I can click on the next one and then again evaluate the next one and the next one and the next one. After it's all said and done, you can check off all your results or just check off the ones that you want and then hit add to list. And what this will allow you to do is create a marketing list that you can either export or take to our skip tracing and get phone numbers and emails, followed by direct marketing to them. So last thing I want to explain to you is that we can also help you by monitoring your filters by saving that search. So after you perform your search, you can click Save Search, name it, apply your details, essentially summarize your filter. You can even replace any of these boxes here at the top if you'd like. I normally don't like doing that because I'd like to see what I'm working with, but you do have that option. And last but certainly not least is we can notify you. Anytime we were doing a pre-foreclosure update in Miami, if anything fits this particular criteria that you just saved, we can we can email you immediately, daily, or weekly. So essentially we can become your personal assistant. So if you decide to do that, again, name it, summarize your filter, choose whether you want to replace a box or not, and set up your alert. Hit save. For those of you that did not replace a box, all your saved searches will be stored in all searches. So that is essentially how you want to approach our application. You want to search, you want to refine your search by filtering it down to the criteria that you need. Your results will populate on the right-hand side. Go ahead and click on them to analyze the property, get an idea of what's happening to the property and the owner. Run your comps using county records, neighboring records, or MLS. Save them and then add it to a marketing list. And then make sure you guys save your search if you want us to notify you. But before I go to the properties page where we show all your saved searches, I do want to wrap it up by letting you guys know that it's not just refining a criteria. You can come up with things that are unheard of that you can't find at the county's office. Like, for example, I'm looking for tired landlords, people that have been renting out their property for a long time. So I can go to Miami, Florida. I can look for non-owner occupied properties, right? If you're a landlord, you're obviously not occupying that property. I want to make sure there's a lot of equity, so I'm looking for all the free and clear properties. I like to normally deal with single family properties, maybe properties built before 2000, right? Because now, you got to start upgrading or rehabbing because it's about 20, almost 20 years old now. We can make sure that it's off market or it failed recently. We can make sure it's not in pre-foreclosure, so it gives us more time to deal with these homeowners. And here's where we can drive the quote unquote tired landlord part. We can apply a minimum years of ownership, 15 years, and we can even say it's corporate owner individual. Now, this is not to say that everybody here is tired of being a landlord. I mean, if I was a landlord making a great amount of passive income, it'd be very hard for me to let that go. But again, you guys have heard of those stories out there where people have been renting out, and you make a call, they let you know that they have no plans on continuing anymore, or they don't have any relatives to pass on their portfolio, so they're willing to deal with you if the price is right. So the reason why I'm showing you guys this is because you can apply whatever predicament you can think of into our filtering system and come up with categories, in this case, tired landlords, that you're not going to be able to find through an agent or through the county's office. But through our filtering system and the ability to apply over 100 different layers, you'll be able to custom create your own results. You'll even be able to find buyers using that filter. So you can say things like, show me all the non-owner occupied cash buyers that are corporate or individually owned, and they bought it at the beginning of the year. So here are all the non-owner occupied cash transactions. And now I can click on them, go to the cash sale, see the cash amount, the transaction amount, and then who the buyer is and where that buyer is located. So lots of information here, guys. Again, have fun with filtering. Really, you just want to come up with predicaments, whether it's a highly motivated or least motivated. Sky's the limit for you there. Ultimately, once you save your results, they're going to be stored in the properties page. So here is where you'll be able to click on any of your leads that you've saved, such as the Miami pre-foreclosures, check them off, and hit the export button. So if you're just here for our data and you have a different skip tracing provider, or you have assistants that do all the cold calling and direct marketing, feel free to just export once you check off the addresses, and you'll get a CSV file you can take elsewhere. For those of you guys that don't have that luxury, we do have a skip tracing feature. So by clicking on skip tracing, you can select the list that you've saved, and then you can place an order. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you the emails, phone numbers, and landlines that we've been able to capture for those properties. It normally takes about 10-15 minutes to get your results, so it's very fast. Unless you have thousands of addresses, that could take about an hour or two. Anytime you skip trace, your results will be stored in the contacts page. So as you can see here, this is what it looks like with no results. And here's a list of properties that I've skip traced with results. What's also important in the contacts page is you can import an outside list. So if you're using, or let's say you have a list of data from a different provider that you need to get phone numbers on, or you would like to market to, feel free to import it. And when you import it, you'll have an outside list, for example, which you can skip trace. And as you can see here, get phone numbers and email. So it doesn't have to be our data. If you're working with another provider and again, you don't have a source to skip trace or source to market to, bring it on over, import that over here, and we'll allow you to skip trace it, get their phone numbers like you see here. And last but not least, campaign. So in the campaign, we allow you to actually create a specific campaign for a specific list that you've created or saved. So when you start a new campaign, we're going to ask you to name it and choose the list that you want to campaign to. And you can campaign to more than one category if you'd like. But ultimately, what's going to happen is this is what the campaign is going to look like. It's going to tell you how many people are in your campaign. You'll be able to create a website. So our website editor will allow you to create a landing page. And this is for free. The idea here is that we want to make sure that people aren't calling you directly unless you choose to have it that way. The idea here is that we allow you to create this website. That way you can redirect your leads that way. and rather than having them call you or email you directly, they would arrive on your landing page, fill out their information, hit the send button, and you'll get an email notification rather than a direct phone call or email from them. So the campaign gives you a free website. It's optional. You don't have to do it unless you want to. Once you establish your landing page or not, you can then proceed by sending out any of our 3 marketing elements. So you can send postcards by either uploading your own design, the front and back design, or going to advanced edit and creating your own. You can even go to our template section here where we have over a few dozen postcards that you can choose from. Now, these postcards of ours are coded. Essentially, it makes it more dynamic that way. What I mean by that is if you choose one of our templates, what we'll do is we'll put each individual owner's name on the postcard. We'll also make sure that their physical address is on the postcard. So it'll say things like, I'm interested, as you can see here, this address. That is just a fake address, but when I hit print preview, you'll see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 get replaced by one of the addresses that are actually on my campaign. So the idea here is that no 2 cards will be the same. They'll look the same, but every card will address the owner's name individually. They'll also call to attention the address that you're interested in. And the cool part is, since we collect tax information, if it's a non-owner occupied property, we'll make sure that the postcard gets sent to their mailing address. So we won't be sending it to the physical property. We'll make sure it gets sent to the mailing address where the owner of that property is most likely going to address that postcard of yours. The other 2 elements that we have in terms of marketing is the ringless voicemail drop. It's 4 simple steps. Add your caller ID, and this is what's going to show up on the missed call notification. Step 2, upload your own recording. So you can upload your own WAV format, or hit the create new recording button and we'll give you an 800 number and a PIN number. So you can just use your cell phone, call that 800 number, dial the PIN, and they'll do the recording over the phone for you. Step 3 is just to apply your schedule. So you can block out dates and schedule these RVMs in advance, or you can do them all today if you like. And last but not least is calls per minute. So if you have a list of 3,000 people, we can call 1 number every minute, and that would take 3,000 minutes. We can do 10 calls every minute, and that would take 300 minutes. Or we can do 30 calls every minute, and in about 100 minutes, about an hour and a half, less than an hour and a half, we're done. We've sent all 3,000 of the people on your list your voicemail. And we only charge you for the success rate. So not all 3,000 are going to get your voicemail, but for the ones that do, those are the ones that we're billing you for. So we play it fair. We don't charge you for the service. We only charge you for the successful deliveries in terms of the voicemail. And the last campaign is the email campaign. So this you can do from your own email, but to make things easier, we can send it all to your list at once. You can even schedule it if you'd like. So the idea with the email here is that you'll send an email. The email will be encoded. So if they click on the email and they click on the photo or they click on the Learn More button, they'll get redirected to your landing page where they'll be able to fill out their information. And if they hit send, it all comes back to you. So I do hope you guys enjoy this quick demonstration. I hope it gives you an idea on how powerful our system is in terms of refining your searches or even creating your own type of leads, as well as how we can help you caretake to that list by skip tracing it and getting you phone numbers and emails within about 10-15 minutes, as well as doing direct marketing. So I like to call it like a one-stop shop. But again, you guys can export our data if you want to take it elsewhere. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure to visit the help section here on the left-hand side. We do have some overview videos for you, but most importantly, you have our email to get a hold of our support team, as well as our phone number. It's been a pleasure, guys. Have a great day.